Welcome to the Best Known Church Show, where we show you how to 10x your reach with church marketing that will help you increase your impact, make more disciples, and become the cornerstone of your community again. This is for the leaders with an outrageous vision, because anything less would be an inaccurate reflection of our Creator. The ones who have unreasonable faith, because you know God works unreasonable miracles. And the ones who are relentless in the pursuit of your calling, because anything less would not make a good and faithful servant. If that's you, you're in the right place. Now, please welcome your host and guide on this journey to become the best known organization in your community, Justin Nava.
Welcome to the Best Known Church Show. I'm your host, Justin. I'm so glad you're here. My mic stand's being a little weird, so hopefully you can hear me okay. Hey, in this episode, I'm going to share with you something that I've noticed a lot of churches have half a strategy for. And what happens is they get some interest on their website, they get someone to connect and engage with them online, but there's no follow through and they end up falling through the cracks. They end up not showing up on Sunday mornings. We're not talking about adding anything new on the outward end. We're talking about nurturing, what we call guest nurturing, the people that are already interested in you and making sure they show up. You know, it's one thing when you have a conversation with someone and you're like, hey, what do you think about this idea? And they're like, hey, that sounds great. But you never actually plan anything. I'm actually really bad about that. My wife and I are both bad about it, but I'll take responsibility for it. You know, we'll talk about a date night or we'll talk about like, hey, we should do this weekend. And then we never actually decide to do it. So by the time comes, either I'm ready to go and she's not like prepared or mentally ready to go, or she's ready to go and I'm like, I already made other plans. So, you know, it can be, if you don't actually like nurture a commitment, people fall through the cracks. And so today I want to help you master guest nurturing. So when someone visits your website throughout the week, you can actually take the initiative, keep the ball in your court, so to speak, and actually get people to show up on Sundays. Because you should, I believe, you should, as the church, and on a more personal level, the church leader, you should take the initiative to keep the relationship moving forward towards the gospel, whether that's in worship service or small group or whatever it is. So in today's show, I'm going to share with you just a simple, what we call nurture. We don't call it, everyone calls it this, nurture sequence. We call it guest nurture sequence. So that way, if someone interacts with your website online, you can actually follow up with them. Now, you can do this through a number of ways. You might hear something called retargeting ads. We're not talking about that. We're talking about if someone connects with you online through a web chat, through a contact form, even an event registration. There are ways that you can follow up with them automatically, or if not, you can have an assistant or a volunteer do it. So I'm going to share with you how you can do that. What you'll notice is once you implement this, you'll notice more people actually dialoguing with you before Sunday morning. And let me tell you, one of the best feelings in the world is when someone shows up for the first Sunday morning, or wherever you worship, whenever your worship service is, and they already know who you are. You already have an idea of who they are because you've already shared some emails, talked on the DMs, possibly even prayed for each other, maybe had some coffee ahead of time. So it's totally different. It's no more, are you new here? It's, hey, I'm so glad you finally made it. Welcome. I'm glad to have you. So we'll talk about what that looks like. If you are watching, whether you're watching live or the replay, if this interests you, you want to see more topics like this, hit the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. So let's get into it. And I want to make sure we understand why what's happening isn't working. There are people that are visiting your church website and aren't showing up to Sunday. We see this anytime we take on a new client. We hook up analytics, and while we're onboarding, we're watching the analytics. And what we see is about for every 100 website visitors, one person will actually do a contact form, do a web chat, do a prayer request. Those numbers can be sometimes different. Some areas, prayer requests are like 3 out of 100. It's the 3%. And that's a fantastic number, by the way. Don't get hung up on that. You know, same thing. If 100 people came to service and only 3 people came to the altar call, you don't consider that a failure. So anything from 1 to 3% is good. But we'll notice that so out of 1 out of 100, let's say, will actually interact, engage on the website, do a contact form, something like that. But only 1 out of those 5 or 1 out of 500 website visitors will actually show up to church. And now that's like baseline before we do anything and optimize it further. Why is that? How come out of every 5 people that say, hey, I'm interested in this, they ask a question in the web chat, they submit a prayer request, why don't they actually ever like follow up with you? Number one is you're kind of just have a hope and see mentality. It's kind of like I imagine when we got a new sign and I like put my chair out in front by the sign and I'm seeing all these cars pass by because the survey guy, the sign salesman was like 40,000 cars pass your church every day. And we invested in a new sign, not for that reason, but we needed a new sign. And I would watch cars drive by and I'm like, man, I hope they saw us. Man, I hope they remember us. And they might have noticed that, like, what's this dude camped out by the sign? They might have noticed that more than the sign itself. But it was hope and see. It was hope and see, man, I hope they come on Sunday. I hope this resonated with them. I hope they remember us. We don't have to live like that on our website. It used to be that way. It used to be you just put out a website and people would find you, and people were a lot less flaky even a decade ago. And so it's no longer the case. So if you find yourself where you look at your analytics, or if you just, have this inkling that, there's some people that interact with us, but they don't actually continue to interact with us. Today is going to help you kind of fix that. So I already kind of addressed, a lot of churches have a hope and see mentality. And I like to use the phrase, they leave the ball in their court. And this is true with anything. If you do any ads, if you do any events, we need to stop leaving the ball in another person's court. We have to take control of the conversation. We know as evangelicals or evangelists or missionaries, whatever you want to call yourself, we know that no one I hate saying no one. I hate saying no one, nobody. It's like when people are like, nobody's doing this. And it's like, there are literally, even if it's hundreds out of millions, there are people doing this. But for hyperbole sake, let me just say this. No one is going to walk up to you randomly off the street. I know one pastor is going to be like, actually, but no one's going to walk to you randomly off the street and say, hey, I need Jesus. Tell me what church to go. Right. Now what you can do as a disciple of Christ is, hey, I noticed you're struggling with this. I was struggling with it too. Christ helped me see out of it. Here's my story. I once, then God, now I. Whatever it is, you need to control the conversation to point people to Christ. Very few people, if not any, are going to just walk up to you and be like, I had a dream and I'm ready for Jesus. Right. Hopefully that happens. God willing, that would happen, but that's just not going to happen. We have to control the conversation. We control the relationship, or at least we control how we evangelize in the relationship. Okay. And not only that, life is full of distractions. And I think we can be a part of that distraction, but I think ideally we are not. So, the websites, they can work to bring people to church, but it only works if we use them intentionally and we use them proactively. Okay, one of the things you'll see that I'll pitch often is our church website frameworks. We have frameworks now that we're going to start providing for churches. You'll see that like we offer the homepage for free because we want that to start the dialogue. We want to have get your email as a church leader and say, hey, first of all, here's the thing. But then second of all, here's, some of the things that we're seeing that works in churches, and here's how we can help and serve your church. Well, you have a relationship with your coworkers, with your family, with your friends, ideally your neighbors. There are people all around you that they're not just going to walk up to you randomly and say, hey, I'm interested in this. You've got to nurture that relationship. Now, the cool thing is, in the same way that your neighbor might come over and be like, hey, we lost our volleyball over your fence. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'd like volleyball. Let's start a conversation, right? Well, when people visit your website, okay, they are interested in you. They're at least curious about you. And if they do a contact form, prayer request, event registration, whatever it is, you now have their information to continue a relationship, to continue a dialogue. And that's what guest nurturing is. It's simply continuing the dialogue until someone's ready to take a next step. Now, today we're just talking about an initial dialogue. You can obviously continue to nurture them through newsletters, through reminders, through announcements, whatever it is. But we're just talking about like, hey, first time you interact with our site, here's like 5 emails or messages that you can send to get them to come to church on Sunday. And this is also around getting people to church on Sunday. You can also use this to get people to groups, obviously get people to your events. So, we don't want to just be passive. Oh, I hope something happens. Okay. Even Calvinists go out and evangelize because they know that there is a proactivity to spreading the gospel and making disciples. So your website, even though it's there, You don't have to necessarily wait for someone to come back or wait for someone to make a decision. You can nurture and guide them to make that decision. So what is guest nurturing? Okay. It's simply getting someone's information from the website. Okay. This can be in a contact form. This can be from a prayer request. This can be from an event registration. It can also be from something we call online guest gift. I'll touch on that just briefly. But either way, it's you have their information, and now you can follow up with them to continue to provide information about the church, about why they should connect, about how you can serve them. Okay. How do you get their information? There's a few ways. There's what we call passive and active ways. Passive ways mean it's something that just lives online and you're just waiting for them to take action. Now it will happen. Okay. You've got contact forms, right? You probably got a contact page. If you follow our advice, on your leadership page, you have want to speak to a leader, tell us which leader you want and leave your message. There could be a prayer request page and, they submit a prayer request. But then there's also maybe web chat. Maybe you have web chat enabled. We're slowly rolling that out for all our clients. But then there's also active ways. This is where you're providing something for someone in return for their sign up or for their email address. For example, event registration, right? Hey, we've got this event coming up. We'd love to have you register for it so we can have a head count, pay for a ticket, whatever. Now you've got their information. You should follow up with them, right? You could also do a plan a visit form. Not we all, but a lot of people do that. The thing that we love to do is an online guest gift. This is something that you provide as a resource. Could be a prayer guide, what does the Bible say about blank, video series. It could be something just like 10 things to do with your kids on a rainy day. It could be something like that. Something that's of value to a website visitor. And they provide their email because you got to send it to them. They provide their email and then you send it to them. All right. So those are ways that you can get their information and then you follow up with them. Now, the easiest and most reliable method is going to be email, right? Because everyone has an email. I don't care what I will say that everyone has an email, and even though people are like, oh, no one checks their email. No, they're not checking your email. Okay. But I can guarantee you if there's an important announcement at work, I'm not waiting for it to come on social media. I'm looking into my email inbox for that. Okay. If HR has to send me a write-up, they're not going to send me a DM. They're going to send me an email. All right. My, phone company, electricity company, gas company, utility company, the city, all that stuff, they have my email. Okay. I'm checking my email. I'm just not checking the emails you send me unless they're valuable. That's what I'm going to share with you today is how to make those emails valuable. But there's also texting. If you got their number and you got their permission to text, there's no reason why you can't text. Now, there's software. Don't get involved in the software unless you absolutely have to. There is nothing wrong with sending out some handmade texts. You might only get 3 out instead of 5 that I'm going to share with you here. You're going to have to adjust the messaging a little bit to make it more concise. There's nothing wrong with texting people. Hey, we got your registration. Glad you're coming. Right. And then you can text them. Hey, by the way, we got this coming up. We'd like to invite you this Sunday. Whatever it is. Can I pray for you? The other thing too, that a lot of churches ignore because there isn't a software to automate it and make it super sexy, but it's honestly the direct message on social media. If someone watches your online live stream, worship online live stream, whatever you call it, you can absolutely click on that person's profile and send them a message or friend them and send them a message. And you can use the same sequences that I'm going to share with you today. Okay. Now you can use something like Text in Church. You can use something like we use for our clients. You can use MailChimp, I guess, or some other what's called autoresponder. You can use one of those, or you can just type out an email, just copy paste, right? Have a Word document that has all the emails of what you like to say, copy paste. Okay. We have a framework that we follow, which we'll share in a course later on. But I'm just going to go over the general ideas here so you can kind of know what you can write. You can write it yourself. In fact, it'll probably be better than if you copy our framework. So those are the 3 platforms that you can use. And then as far as nurturing, what we like to do is there's kind of 5 emails. If they come in early in the week, we can invite them to church, 1 email a day. If they come in later, then, they may only get 2 or 3. In our system, we have 5 emails, but they're by date. So if they haven't signed up by Wednesday, they're not getting the second email because there's not enough time. All right. But let me go over the 5 emails and then we're going to go over the cadence, so to speak. That is how often they get sent. So let me share my screen here. I just got a whiteboard here. I decided I liked using my iPad better than my whiteboard. So now I got a stupid whiteboard in my room, but I think you guys can see it a lot better. So what we're going to do is we're going to send 5 emails. So ideally, in this example, we're going to say they plan to visit, right? They did a contact form. Yeah, hey, we'd love to have you. Let us know you're coming. We'll save a gift. We'll register your kids, whatever it is. But they are planning a visit. So you're going to send them an email. Let's not worry about the days yet, but we're going to say email 1. And that's just an intro to the church. Maybe it's an intro to the pastor. All right. Let me see if I can write that better. Intro. Slow down, Justin. All right. In this, you're just going to introduce, hey, we're glad you're coming. Here's a link to our plan to visit page. But what we like to do is we like to ask for a reply. It's just from the pastor, and it says, hey, how can we pray for you? I know you're coming because something's going on in life, probably. How can we pray for you? Get a reply. For us, this is anywhere from 10 to 30% of replies, 10 to 30% reply rate, which means out of every 10 to 3 emails we send, someone replies. This is the start of a relationship. And as with anything, you don't just send an email, and this is why autoresponders can suck, is because a lot of pastors will just ignore this. I'm not here for you to just blast out information. I'm here to help you have a relationship, start a dialogue, whatever that is. So make sure you keep the conversation going. And ideally, your autoresponder would stop because now you're having a real life conversation. The second email we like to send is what to expect. I hope that's right because I'm doing this by memory. And this is like what to expect on Sundays, what to expect at a life group, what to expect, whatever. Like they signed up, so this should be what to expect at the thing you signed up for. Okay, you could even use this sequence for an event to make sure people show up to your events, but that's what we like. And then this, you're probably going to go to your plan a visit page. They don't have to sign up. They're already signed up. You already got their information. You can go to your plan a visit page. If you want, you can also, say, hey, let us know you're coming, whatever that is. Now, the third email is your secret sauce. And it's one that we skip on a lot of church sequences, not ours. Excuse me. It's one that a lot of people will skip, but we don't. And that's testimonies. You want to send you don't want to just tout out how great you are. Let's tout out how great God is. So share some testimonies. These don't have to be strictly related to the church. Like, oh, I was so down in the dumps and the church helped me. It could just be a testimony of what Jesus did in someone's life. Didn't have to be with your church. We want to showcase how great God is, not how great our church is. I mean, our church is fine, but God is the one that makes it great. So share some testimonies of what someone's done. If they download a resource, make it related to the resource. So say someone's downloaded a resource like, hey, 10 things to do with your kids on a rainy day. Well, then your testimonies can be like about how your church helped someone through a hard time parenting, right? Like our small group helped us when I was out of town, 300 miles away, and my wife got really sick with the flu. Our small group took care of our child for a week. I mean, they were passing her around like, hey, we'll take her to school. We'll pick her up. We'll feed her. And then I got to drop her off here because I got to go early to work. And I mean, it was amazing. I mean, Christ's love all over the place. That's a great testimony to share. Like, hey, this is what family means to us at our church. All right. And then from here, again, you always want to give someone a next step. So you can do a reply. If you have more testimony videos, you can. But let's just say you want to reply like, hey, I know God may have done something in your life, or is there something that you're looking for God to do in your life? So some way we can help, let us know, and we'll do that. All right. The next email is a reminder email. So this will go the day before your event. And it's just, hey, last minute details. And you'll link to your plan a visit page. All right. I said there's 5 emails because there's one more you send after the event or shortly or at the time of the event. We're still experimenting with it, but I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and share it here. But these are the main emails. Okay. So obviously, if you're, for example, doing a nurture sequence to Sundays, right? Obviously, this one needs to go out Saturday or Sunday morning, which means that this testimony email probably can't go out if they sign up Saturday. So, we can maybe say you can do it by days. You could say Friday. You could say Thursday. You could say at sign up. Okay. Now what we do is we just do a 1 day buffer. Well, that one doesn't matter. And then we do skips based on the day. So we know, so we know this one's going to go out on Saturday. So we just do 1 day in between. But if they sign up on Thursday, right, they'll get this on Thursday. They'll get this on Friday. And then they'll skip to this one on Saturday. It's a lot of complication, but that's basically how that works. But these are the emails that you want. Okay. So introduce yourself, introduce your church, ask them how you can pray for them. That's email one. Even if they just get those, even if they just get these two, you are ahead of the game. Okay. Even if they just go straight from introduction to what to expect, you're ahead of the game. And it's going to require some intentionality. That's what it is. Now, I told you we're going to do 5. There is one extra that I wanted to share, and that is live. Watch live. So this one obviously works for this, but you can either do live and then link to the live stream, or you can do after the fact, and you could say, hey, did you not make it? Link. Okay. Just depends on what you have available to you. Okay. The live one, obviously we send at like 9:30 or 11 when the thing is. Replay is going to be afterwards. The reason is because, you're not going to get everyone. So might as well just send the replay in case they want to see it again or see it and not make it. All right. From there, you should have a second sequence for after. I think I've done a show on that, what to send them afterwards. And yes, you're going to send them more testimonies. Because that's the best thing we have. It's the best marketing asset churches have are their testimonies. So that is the 5-day sequence: intro, what to expect, testimony, reminder. If you want live stream after, all right, you can load these up. You can write them, load them up in an autoresponder, and then anytime someone signs up for something, you can just it'll link their email or put their email, and it'll automatically fire them off. There is nothing wrong with having an assistant. Whenever someone submits a prayer request or submits a contact form or submits a plan to visit, if the assistant gets a notification and it's like, all right, now I'm going to send this email. All right. Even if it's just hey, glad you signed up for this. How can we pray for you? Like that's, guys, you don't, and I'm preaching myself here too. You don't have to go all the way 100 miles per hour. You can just start off with a couple emails. And don't let the fact that you don't have an autoresponder stop. Like there is no reason you can't start doing this today. I don't know what don't use an autoresponder. Just send an email. Once you get past like 3 or 4, like then you're going to have to worry about that. But why don't you just get to that point? All right. So that's our 5-day sequence. Take it, use it in good health. If you want to learn more about how you can use your website to bring more guests, I have a free training link down below. I don't have the link to put on screen here. But you've got a link down below. Down there, you got a free training on the YouTube channel. Facebook, you'll have to go find it. And X, you'll have to go find it too. So I guess you should watch this on YouTube if you aren't already watching. So go watch that. I'll show you all the things that you need to have to get your church website in shape to bring more online visitors to in-person church to hear the gospel and be discipled, because that's what that's all about. So click that link down below, or you can go to Nava Church Marketing and book a time to talk on my calendar. Hopefully you're not like someone booked a time on my calendar. I was like, Christopher Reeves is an interesting name for a pastor, but I'm going to try to call this person anyways. And of course they stop, unsubscribe, don't talk to me ever again. They didn't say that, but it was like, they were just fishing, I guess. So you go to Nava Church Marketing, see all about our, what we do for churches. So if you guys like this video, like the video down below. If you liked it, subscribe on Spotify, wherever you are. God bless you guys. And I will see you all next week.
That's going to do it for today's episode of the Best Known Church Show with Justin Nava. Be sure to subscribe to stay updated on the latest news, strategies, and resources that you need to reach 10x more people and become the best known in your community. To send us a message or leave a voicemail for Justin to be played on a future show, visit thebestknownchurchshow.com. And if you'd like to work with us so you can focus on your ministry, give us a call at 832-861-7654. Until next time, stay outrageous, unreasonable, and relentless.